You have the video of the field sobriety test for us to look at now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, why not?
I don't, at that time, I didn't have a body camera, nor does my patrol car have dash cam.
What about Sally Port cameras? We got cameras in the Sally Port, let's look at that.
I don't have that.
You don't have it. I can tell you, I've asked for it 100 times. Do you know why that camera would not have been working that night?
Yes, sir, I don't.
Was there anything covering the camera?
I can't answer that. I didn't look at it or
You weren't paying attention to the cameras. Did you assume that they were on?
Yes, sir.
Where are the cameras in the Sally Port?
I know there's cameras there, but I can't tell you where they're at.
He had asked to speak to a lawyer, didn't he?
Correct. I told him once I finished speaking with him, good.
Okay, you gave him that option to speak to a lawyer?
Yes, sir, I did. Once I finished speaking to him, absolutely.
Would that mean after the field sobriety test?
When I got done speaking, correct.
Okay, so he was not entitled to ask a lawyer about making that voluntary decision. You said it was voluntary.
Correct.
And you said, did he cooperate? Your response was not at first.
No.
Were you talking about his, where you were going to conduct the test?
Correct.
Okay. He wasn't not cooperating with, no, I'm not going to be subjecting to this. It was, I want to do them here.
At first, he didn't want to do the test, and I explained to him that based off his admission of telling me that he had smoked marijuana, that I wanted to make sure that he was all right to drive.
Sure.
And then once I explained all that to him, he was fine with doing the test, but he didn't want to be transported anywhere.
You wanted to do them there at the scene?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you made the decision to go to the Sally Port.
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. And did you radio in that you were taking a possible subject to the Sally Port?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you let Mr. Weirden's wife drive the car from the scene?
I believe that the lawyer said that she could. I never spoke with her.
Did you know who Matt Reardon was when you first encountered him?
I've never, no, sir, I did not. I've never met him. I've heard of him, but I've never met him.
That's right. And did you know him by reputation?
Just of stuff that's happened in the past, what happened, I think, on the square in 2016.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, described to the court, you say he was unable, there's no description of how he did not maintain his balance during the instruction phase.
So in the instruction phase, there's two clues that we look for, and that is unable to maintain balance and starts too soon.
Right.
He breaks, I put him in the position, I tell him to go ahead and put his left foot on the line, put his right foot heel to toe to keep his arms down by his side, and he breaks that stance.
Okay, so he broke his stance.
Yes, sir, that's considered unable to maintain balance.
Okay, so even if somebody just decides I'm going to stand here instead of standing in this uncomfortable position, then maybe not a balance issue, but if they break their stance, it's counted as a failure to maintain balance.
Correct.
And can you describe the mode in which, or the way he failed to perform the turn part of it?
Yes, sir. I demonstrate to him how to do the turn, and I explain to him the small series of steps to take. Mr. Reardon did like an about-face military turn.
And do you physically demonstrate that?
Yes, sir, I did.
And would you have been in sight of that Sally Port camera as you did that when you did that?
Yes, sir.
And his turn would have been in sight of that camera as well. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any explanation why the Lafayette County Sheriff's Department has not provided us a copy with the Sally Port video of this standard field sobriety test?
I can't answer that.
Did you ask to preserve this video?
I didn't.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Did you ask to preserve the interior videos that would have proof of those things you talked about inside?
No, I did not.
Okay. You know if anybody did?
I don't know. When it comes to videos and stuff like that, it's your department. My rank doesn't require me to mess with any video at the Sheriff's Department.
Understood.
And during the whole incident, I really didn't think about those cameras out there up front.
And at the request of my client, I want to ask you this to make sure. Did you never requested the interior videos, right?
Yeah.
Did anyone ever ask you to say, hey, Courtney, better make sure you just you need to stop the ball? No. That's not even part of your job. I understand. I just want to make sure that we cover that. Chair Meeks, we've been produced a copy of the video of the parking lot in another one we're about to take up. How on earth do we preserve that video and not have the video of the DUI?
The moment of the arrest, he was arrested at that time.
Okay, so he was arrested for DUI there in Sallyport, and just like that video was preserved, the Sallyport video could have been preserved too.
But when you arrived, you knew it was a real call.
Yeah, absolutely.
You kind of,
Knew that.
you said you kind of waited to see if he would come talk to you, was that?
I didn't go to his car, I stood at the back of my truck. I was assuming he was there for me. He wanted to talk to me about something. So I stood at the back of my truck and waited. Raised his car, looked at him, and he wasn't there. So the only assumption I got then is maybe he's already inside. So I went ahead and go inside, got in the office, and as I was sitting down, I heard a high-pitched scream. I actually assumed that there was someone being assaulted, a female was being assaulted outside because we started a safe side.
During those times with Nat, you know, have you ever been, intimidated that he was going to hurt you or anything like that? Or basically, did you expect him to try to jump in that parking lot that day when you saw his video?
What I have found about Matt Reardon is he's unpredictable, and he seems to be getting worse as time goes on. He seems to be believing, in my opinion, a conspiracy theory that only he believes. So I would take that as a threat. I do not think he's a stable person. Anyone that has pled guilty to a crime that believes that it was orchestrated does not make good sense to me. I think he's a threat. I think he's a threat to anybody that disagrees with him.
But at this point in time, what happened that day was he was standing in the corner of his car talking to Courtney and wouldn't move his car. Is that right?
No, sir, that particular day he came looking for me.
Right. He was talking
He came looking to the sheriff to address him because of whatever agitation he was at that time. So, yeah, I would think he would be a threat. I'm prepared for that threat if that happened.
He wasn't arrested for threatening the sheriff.
He was arrested because he did not leave when he was asked to for disorderly conduct, disobeying a direct order from a law enforcement officer, which also goes to show someone's ability not to comply and not a mental status. Most people leave when they're asked to leave or move.
Why were you parked in that spot?
I parked in that spot because the driver's side window was knocked out of my car. I did have a tarp there. Where I was parked, I could not hardly see when the sheriff was coming out through the rear view mirror. I couldn't see the side view mirror, and I simply wanted to speak with the sheriff because I couldn't get a response from him through email.
And why did you think that sign didn't prohibit you from parking?
Well, there's the jail and the sheriff's department. If I figured the sign would have said for sheriff's deputies only. Had it have said authorized for official vehicles only or for sheriff's deputies only, I would have inferred it to be that. It's saying sheriff's department, reserved for sheriff's department. I was there on what I felt was official business to address the sheriff about a redress, about a grievance.
That business that he has to attend to in person and hadn't had a chance to respond to your email?
So the email on criminal conspiracy sent a day prior that went read and not responded
I'm not
to.
asking him that. I'm just asking him about data and if we can answer the question about whether or not to give a guy a little bit of time to respond to an email instead of an instant type response.
I think I'd gone long enough at that point on being victimized and not seeing my child. I wanted to address the sheriff about not being able, about the lies being cast and invoking DHS.
So you were angry?
I wanted to speak to the sheriff because it was his
So
jurisdiction.
you were angry?
I wanted to speak to the sheriff
So you
because
were angry?
it was in his
It's not answered, Your Honor. I'm asking
The
for.
question, would you please answer the question, yes or no?
No, I was fed up with the same things happening where I was continually being victimized. I think that's a fair way to characterize how anybody would feel in the same situation.
It wasn't going to be a pleasant meeting, right?
It was I want her held accountable for the false affidavits, for the lies, for the ultimately kidnapping my child from me.
Kidnapping, when did
I
that?
hadn't seen my child in a year prior to that. Meanwhile, paying $600 a month in child support.
Wait a minute. I thought I saw in some of your filings that there was an order from Chancery Court that you're in contempt over there.
I'm in contempt over there?
Yeah,
No,
for not submitting to a drug test.
you're absolutely wrong.
I'm wrong about that.
100%.
Well,
Because before-
why
prior
is the Chancery
to-
Court then, sir,
Objection.
preventing you from seeing your daughter?
Relevance.
28th, which was your regular day. Then we go to June the 4th, which was your regular day. Then June 11th, that's 2 weeks later,
So,
right?
do you not see the inconsistency here?
You don't get to ask the question. I'm asking you a question. You understand the question?
Yes.
Do I need to repeat it?
I'm a little confused why the state is injecting itself so badly into a family matter.
Well, there's family courts for that. I wish y'all would avail yourselves of that. We've got a criminal charge in front of us now, okay?